Gentlefolk, ferals, and domesticated cryptids, welcome back to Season 3 of Wonder Bathos. I am your host, Optometron, here with my lovely guest tonight, Miss Blondelikemonroe. How are you doing tonight, Blonde?
Fantastic, really.
After the technical difficulties we had at the beginning and then getting lost in the wasteland and Fallout, which, let me just say, it is an honor that I got to play some Fallout with you, because I know that you're a huge fan of the franchise and have been for a while, and I am too, so it's always nice to game it up with people who absolutely just adore the series as much as I do, even though Todd Howard is Todd Howard. Would you like to say anything about yourself or introduce yourself to our lovely YouTube audience?
So people call me Blonde. That's pretty much the standard. It's just an unfortunate name that doesn't really get registered anywhere. So if it's got like Monroe slapped at the end of it, then that's how it is. But I am what I call full-time content creator, streamer, video game QA, playtester, all that stuff. So sort of half content creation, half game dev, jack of all trades kind of thing.
I was gonna say, with your name, it'd be really weird if your name was Blonde and then like your hair wasn't blonde, like if you were a brunette or like a redhead and you're just like, yeah, I'm blonde like Monroe.
Well, you know something I realized earlier, well, not earlier this evening. It didn't occur
Just
to me
now.
playing Fallout 76. No, it was only like a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to someone about our very first like online names, and they were like, "What was your first like chat room name?" And I'm like, "It was Ginger, because I had red hair, and she was my favorite Spice Girl." So I'm really original with my usernames.
First of all,
Like,
same.
what's up here?
Ginger was my favorite Spice Girl too. I'm just gonna put that out there. No joke. Jerry Hollowell is amazing. She is incredible. I love her. And that is something I did not know about you. I did not know that you your name used to be Ginger and you were a redhead. That I'm kind of blew my mind a little bit. I figured since you were so committed to the blonde that's just been a thing forever. So how did you make the transition to Blondelikemonroe then? Where did that name come from?
I mean, like the like Monroe part, it was, like I had to do like a complete online presence, like overhaul. Like I left a violent marriage here in the US, and I went from Arizona out to Indiana in the middle of the night. And, this was someone who liked to stalk online, especially, and keep an eye on like friends of mine or family of mine and things like that. So I knew that it wasn't even a matter of just being able to block on my socials and things like that. I had to go way underground. And I, have always had like Marilyn Monroe things, like calendars, notebooks, things like that. I've idolized her since I was little. And it was like, just put that there, like I have this platinum hair, and it just kind of stuck. So that was it. The name was born.
Often
and it's fun to play with.
That is quite a story. And first of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and second of all, it seems like you have become so much stronger of a person on the other side of that, and like even your username spawned from that. So I mean, that is awesome that you took something that was horrible and should never happen to anybody, and like at least you have like a cool username at the very least that you brought out of that, and just use that to fuel your what you're doing now. And I think that's absolutely incredible. So how did you find Twitch and start streaming?
So I have been streaming now it's actually almost 7 years. I actually started in May of 2016, and before that, I was doing video game journalism back in Australia. And then when I moved to the US, the time zone wasn't overly friendly with keeping up with my old team there. I was a part of Drop Dead Gaming, which was kind of bi-weekly, sometimes once a month podcast that's been going since 2010, 2011. No, I think it's 2011. So I had to leave that, and I always wanted, kind of going back to, sort of making the best of bad situations. I didn't want to lose all that time because I love talking about games and things like that. So it was kind of going onto Twitch was kind of a way for me to still be able to talk about video games just in a different format. So that's kind of what it was. And I was waiting on my work permit to come through, and I just had so much time on my hands. So
That
that
is
was it.
that's probably the most original like reason. I don't know if original is the right word. Everybody seems to find Twitch for similar reasons, but the fact that you were like a video game journalist and like just your love of video games, your passion for video games was like that deep that you used to write about it, and like that brought you over to Twitch. I think that's so
Yeah.
interesting and unique because we haven't really seen that anything like that on the podcast before. So that is awesome.
Happy to
And
bring something different.
yeah, right, right. No, that's incredible. So you've been doing this for 7 years now.
Yeah.
What are your goals and aspirations with it? Like, I know a little bit about your recent history, and like kind of why you're full time now. Like, I don't want to out
hmm
any of that if you don't want to talk about that. But like, so now you're full time content, or you said like most of the time
hmm
content creation and stuff. So like, what are your goals with it? Like, where are you trying to go with it?
To be honest, it's kind of, I want to get into, more of, you know, it's sort of kind of like in the game dev industry, and especially with like indie games. I think they're the future when it comes to gaming.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've been sick of AAA titles for so many years at this point that, you get a little indie game that's like $5 on Steam, and it's like, this is such a good game. Um, but one thing I've sort of found, like in that time where I've transitioned from like working for the man and now kind of doing my own thing, is really getting sort of involved in like the QA side and like hype man type role when it comes to these video games. And that's something I've really, really enjoyed doing in these past few months. So it's really just a freelancing thing for me to kind of get involved with, the little guys and try and get everything sort of out there and have that
Right.
exposure and give that good feedback so that these, there are good video games coming out. So,
I love that so much. I agree. And if I could do that like full, like not full time, but if I could just do nothing but play indie games that people are like, "Hey, play my game on Twitch." I think that'd be incredible. There are so many gems out there, and what you said about it becoming the future, I highly believe that is true. I mean, I think that we're still going to have AAA titles, but
sure.
if you think about how far technology has come, how far video games have come, now when people are creating video games, it's like there's so many vast libraries of assets and stuff to use. You're not having to rebuild mailboxes or rebuild these models and stuff. There's just libraries of them for people to use and put their own original stories to, and create these
Mhm.
like new worlds, and cut out the years or months or whatever of time that it takes to build these worlds, because all the little stuff is already built. They can just kind of place it and put it where they want and make a unique original experience out of it. So yeah, I think that's
Right.
awesome. So what is your favorite indie game so far that you've gotten to playtest for?
I've play tested a lot of games in the last 12 months since I've been part of an editorial team actually for a
Hell
place
yeah.
called Game Round. And that is a platform that has two new games every Thursday that are on the platform for 4 weeks. And in that time, you play it and you get direct uh, contact with the devs essentially, and you get to provide that feedback in real time. So being able to stream the play tests and then go in and write about it, um, has been so invaluable. Just having a look. I was compiling some highlights actually on Friday for April end of month, and I think even just in the last year, it's averaged out like one playtest a week I've done.
Very cool.
Like, there's been a
Are
lot of
you,
games.
now I asked you a little bit earlier, are you putting these on YouTube? Are you just doing the live streams? Are you writing like an essay for the creator? Like how exactly does your process work?
With doing the editorial team stuff, which is coming to an end, unfortunately. I mean, the playtesting can still go on, but being part of an editorial team in sort of a more like concentrated, thorough like content creation
Right.
setting, that's coming to an end in just a couple of weeks. So um, basically, the format has been live streaming because depending on the time zone, especially because I stream during the day, I can hit those European time zones, or like if it's 6 hours ahead for them, they can tune in at night and so forth.
Right.
So the live streams have been good. I create a highlight clip that they can go back and reference, but I also write them and put them on the Game Round website, and then also move them onto my own website where it can create a portfolio for them too, that they can link to it if they're looking for anything on their marketing side and things like
Specific.
that, which has actually been used. So it's been pretty
Okay.
cool.
So, what are some things that you look for when you're playtesting? Do you ever like try to break the physics of the game, or are you just kind of looking at like just the basic mechanics of the game? Like, what's your usual go to like when you're looking for stuff in a game?
I always find bugs. There's been a few games where there haven't been bugs, and I'm like, this is very odd. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? um, but it can be a number of things. It can be it can be how original is the storyline in it. Is it does the game just crash when I play it or try to do something? Is the tutorial well written to allow someone who's never played a game of this style, like for example, like a roguelite? I've only just
Right.
recently started getting into roguelite games,
Oh, they're
and
so good. They're so good.
yeah, they really are, but I never could get into them earlier because I was never introduced to them, and I found them to be really complicated and difficult. But one of the indie games I play tested actually had such a good tutorial to the game, like it started to make sense.
Mhm.
So that was really good to see. But tutorials are very important. The language is important, like good,
Dialogue.
grammar
Yeah.
and things like that. And then just like overall, is this a game I'm going to like wish list? Do I want to play this game ever again? So it's sort of, there's a lot of different things I sort of look for when it comes to play testing. But for me, it's just ease of access. Can someone new play it? Is it for more seasoned players? Um, and kind of go sort of from there. Essentially, it just depends, because if it's a platformer, it's going to want different things to, say, a roguelite, or something
So,
different. They're going to have different things.
do they give you any sort of like checklist or anything? Or do
No.
they give you? They don't give you anything to look for.
Mm-mm.
I assume some of the devs sometimes sit in on some of your sessions to kind of watch you play.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome. That is
it's
incredible.
really crazy. I've had some devs come into my stream while I'm playing it. The other thing that it can do in that regard is give you connections, within the industry, because these are, particularly on Game Round, these are titles that are actually needing a publisher, and that's why it's crucial for them to go through this round of playtesting, where they have the game in a good setting so it can be pitched to the publishers, so they can get it on Steam and things like that.
Right.
Last in March, so we're now in May, so not last month, 2 months ago, two games I play tested have hit Steam, one in full release, one in early access, which has been really wonderful to kind of see the evolution of that game when it was, say, like an alpha demo,
Right.
going through to that full release, and just it's brought me other opportunities too. One of the titles that I worked on, I got a voiceover gig with that game.
Hell
i
yeah.
I was QA on the game,
What,
and my broadcast is on their Steam page. Like,
what's the
it's
name of the
crazy.
game? You gotta
It's called
you gotta
Rough
tell.
Justice 84.
Rough Justice 84. That's
Uh-huh.
awesome. I will make sure after the episode, I want to get some of these links from you so I can put it in the
Yeah,
description, like to the editorial
sure.
and stuff like that. So you said the editorial is coming to an end soon, and
Yeah.
you want to continue doing this type of work, though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have leads on possible, new connections on where you're going to go with
Getting
it?
there. Getting there. I'm doing the hustle on Twitter with it. And that's so far brought some really good, networking and relationships in that respect. I put my hand out and said, all right, I've got a lot of free time coming up in May. If you're someone who, does want someone to do a QA or play test or something like that, just let me know because I have that time and I can go and stream it because these tiny indie developers, they love it. They
Yeah.
love it.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
advertising for them.
Oh yeah, any
So
attention is good attention for indie
right,
devs for sure. And I've seen some of these
right.
games blow up. The last indie game that I played was called Mika and the Witch's Mountain, and the trailer
Okay.
for it on Twitter blew me away. I was like, "This is gorgeous. This is something I want to play." And like it wasn't like a direct connection. It was like, "Hey, if anybody wants to play this game, reach out to us, and we'll send you a key." So I filled
Mm-hmm.
out like a little submission form or whatever, and I loved the demo. It was super awesome. I'm waiting for it to release on Steam, but their Kickstarter like blew up, and I love that indie developers can do that, where they can be like, "Hey, check this out. This is what I'm working on. Like, we're looking for people to help, try to get this game released." And now they GoFundMe so much money that they have an amiibo line coming out for it. It's gonna be on Nintendo Switch, and like I think
Damn.
that's incredible, right? So that goes right back to what you said about indie games being the future, because like all it takes is a good idea and a platform to share it on, and that
Mm-hmm.
can take you places. So it's awesome to
Right.
see that you don't have to go to college for 6 years and apply 100 times to 17 different publishing companies to be able to make a video game that a lot of people can enjoy.
Right.
Even the Among Us guys, they made Among Us, and nobody cared about this game at all. And then 6 years later, one big streamer played this game, and by the morning, those dudes were millionaires. Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
insane.
Yeah,
It
it's
is crazy.
it's it's growing. And I think, even with the pandemic and just over the last few years, it's people have become creative in regards to doing it. There's, people who are self-published. So it's not even, there's that accessibility for the devs to be able to get that game out there as
Right.
well, which I think like 10 years ago, yeah, right, you wouldn't see that happen.
Right.
So we're sort of getting, to at least that point with our technology, with social media, all that stuff, where these games exist and they're wonderful. Um, it's just let's get them good and let's get the word out for them. So
Exactly.
it's been really cool to be a part of it. Definitely.
I agree. It makes me so happy for you, dude. I'm so happy that you're like finding stuff that you enjoy, and like I said,
Mm-hmm.
this year, something about this year. Even though everything is so terrible and shitty out in the world right now, I feel like there's still a lot of good things happening if you know where to look. And
Yeah,
sorry, I'm trying not to
definitely.
burp. And seeing good things happen to my friends, and seeing everybody be able to just
Thrive.
thrive and explore those artistic creative things. Like I said, I don't think anything's going to happen to AAA gaming, but to see indie games rise up to that and be able to do that shit is amazing. It's incredible. And it
Yeah.
just speaks to, like you said, the artistic abilities of people, and having a platform to share that on. I think it's great. Are there any games coming
Definitely.
out that you're excited for on either side of the boundaries?
I mean, there's a lot of the demos that I did last year that are coming soon, which I'm very, very much excited. A few of them have also just recently come out as well. I just haven't had a chance to see their full release with it. But to be honest, there really isn't much of anything new coming up that I can get excited for. And
Right.
this has been a thing for many years. It's I remember the days of, like Call of Duty, for example. I got that every year. And I would always be
Right.
like, November's like so far away. I want the next Call of Duty. And now I haven't played it in 5 years. I think I bought it 2 years ago and I played it once, never touched it again.
Yeah. Call of
I
Duty's
don't know
not
if it's
it's not what it used to be. My coworker
no.
plays so much Call of Duty and Siege, and like listening to him talk about it, I'm like, that doesn't sound anything like what I was used to playing, back in the day, and like that just doesn't sound like it'd be enjoyable for me,
It's very different. It's very different.
Call of Duty World at War is on sale on Steam right now for like $14, and that came out before the first Black Ops, and I'm like, kind of tempted. I'm like, man, if I was ever gonna play Call of Duty again, that's the one I would want to jump on.
That is a great game. That is a good Call of Duty game.
So
it's
good.
just they don't have the same. It's just not the same anymore, unfortunately.
It's not. Everything's a cash grab now. Everything is, buy this game and then we're gonna suck money out, a little bit more money out of you every month. 'Cause we're gonna keep you addicted to it. And like, man, I have said it a lot of times before, but I really think that Fortnite is going to be the first like player ready or Ready Player One type game. I guarantee you they're already working on some sort of VR something for it, because they've made so much money off of it and they keep evolving and changing it. And as much as everybody wants to make fun of Fortnite and stuff, and like I enjoy it for what I enjoy playing it with my friends every once in a while. It's not something I want to play all the time, but the times that I have played it, I've really enjoyed like what it's turning into, and I can appreciate at least that they're changing it and like not staying stagnant. If you're gonna charge people every month to unlock like Dragon Ball Z skins, like you can at least change the map up and like add new things. And they already have all the licensing for all these pop culture things, so like they've got those connections built in, so there's no reason it couldn't be like Ready Player One. Throw some VR on it, you got some Gundams in there, like whatever, they could do any of that.
You're not wrong. I think it's entirely possible. I've never played Fortnite. I've never even touched it.
I just would, if you, as much as you talk, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I can count how many times I've played it on like one hand, like since it came out. I played it like once or twice when it first came out, and I played it like 2 or 3 times with some friends of mine who begged me to play it with them, and every time I played it, I've had a really good time. So I would suggest, if you get a chance, at least check it out. Load it up. I think it's free. You can get it wherever. And load it up and just check it out, just for the curiosity factor of it. I would suggest
might do that one day.
If you want, hit me up and I'll see if we can get a game going together or something.
You got it.
God, I had somewhere I wanted to take this conversation. Now I can't remember what it was. Something about video games technology.
Something video games and something technology.
Video games technology. Safe word, Oklahoma, red flag. Oh man. Let's see, because usually right here we can veer off, and like I said earlier, we can talk about anything. We could talk about, I usually throw crazy scenarios out there, like I'm like, tell a ghost story, or like give us something paranormal, or like something that's very thought invoking for the people at home listening. And I know it's kind of way off base from what we started talking about, but since I couldn't remember what my next question was, we don't have to
I
go
can't
that
even
route.
think of it. My brain sort of this evening is just I'm trying to like do I even know a good ghost story? No. Like I haven't even thought about that ever. So it's like, that is thought provoking.
Coming from the person that's seen Twin Peaks, how many times now? How many times have you watched that show?
I mean, I usually do a rewatch every year or two, and
we're overdue.
Many times.
we are overdue to rewatch it. God, that show is so crazy. It's so, we can talk about Twin Peaks. We can talk about Twin Peaks. It's been a while since I've seen that show. It was really hard to start watching that show because of just kind of how outdated the first like season was, and just like
Yeah.
the intros are super long and the music is so like droning and weird, but then you start getting into it and you're just like, what the fuck is going on in this show? It is
It's brilliant.
nuts. It really is.
Mean, I love it.
David Lynch is out there. The only thing I had seen really from David Lynch before I watched Twin Peaks was Lost Highway, and I haven't seen that movie since I had a VHS player. Like, it's been a long time.
I have 5 copies of Lost Highway or something. I'm
You
one
have
of those.
5 copies?
Yeah, I am kind of like, with action figure collecting, I think is a good way of putting, like,
Right.
especially with like Transformers or something. I got to buy one in robot mode. I got to buy one in robot mode. Like vehicle, robot, out of the box. It's just, I need a copy for each. So yeah, like pretty much with all David Lynch movies, I have at least 4 or 5 different copies of it. I have like 5 different releases of Twin Peaks, and I'll probably buy the next one that comes out because
Wow. Is it on Blu-ray yet? Is Twin Peaks on Blu-ray
yeah.
yet? Nice. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Does that include the newer episodes? Was that 2019 that the newest episodes came out?
The newer episodes, they came out in 2017.
I can't believe it's been that long.
So long ago. But yeah, it was 2017 when that came out. And they did 2 releases actually, and they're both Blu-ray, and the most recent one has a couple of 4K discs in there too, like where David Lynch has like personally curated everything in it. So it's pretty cool. So it's just one of those shows, like same with its movies. It's like every time I watch it, I get something new out of it. There's something more that I didn't, catch the last time, or I didn't think about this being a possible path with it. And it's fun to talk with other people because what they interpret with it is so different to something you're even thinking, or even your own knowledge of certain things can completely flip it on its head, which is just, I love that stuff. Absolutely love it.
So, burning question: do you think David Lynch is gonna do any more?
No.
That you think Twin Peaks is done?
I think it's done. I don't think it needs to go on further, and I mean, there's enough of the original characters.
There's like a huge cliffhanger at the end, though.
Not really. Like, yeah, I guess there is, but if you sort of like know how it is, like it's never going to end. It's just, I would love to see it, but I think realistically, a lot of the cast members have now passed away. A lot of them, especially in recent times, over the last few years.
Wait, is Kyle MacLachlan? Is he still around?
He's still around. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I was about to say.
He's there, very, very active and all that with, acting and everything that's there. But, a lot of the originals from the show, and even since the return, have since passed away. I mean, David Bowie was supposed to be in the return.
Wow.
And that didn't happen.
That.
Because he's in the movie. He's in the Fire Walk with Me movie.
What? I don't remember seeing him in that movie. It's been a while. I do not remember seeing David Bowie in there. Holy shit. I do remember Trent Reznor being the best band to play at the bar
for episode 8.
Yeah.
The Roadhouse.
Yeah, that was
episode 8 is just one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
I think I do like the return, and I don't want to be biased and say because it's like a little bit more modernized than the original. It felt like every episode kind of stood by itself, right? Like there was still an overarching premise for like plot for the series, but it still felt like every episode stood by itself a lot stronger than the original. Because the original, it was like just seemed like one, I'm gonna say cohesive story, even though it's not, but it seemed like it was still the same plot throughout the original series, and then you get the new ones, and it was like, damn, there's something new happening every episode. And just watching David Lynch, how much he's grown in 20 years, 30 years as a director, it's insane.
I mean, he's been directing a very, very long time. at this point.
Right.
You know, I went back and I got Eraserhead from the Criterion Collection release, and I'm just like, this movie is just so old. And I mean, yeah, it's even you know, being in black and white, sure.
My confession is that I have never seen Eraserhead. I've not seen it.
I mean, it's I look, and I say this to anybody that is like, you're really a big fan of like Twin Peaks. I should watch it, or you know, you know, it's like you like Lynch films. I really need to watch one, and I'm sitting there like, I mean, you should, but it's like,
You don't know
are you
what you're
going to talk to
walking
me
into.
again? And that's sort of like where I'm at with it, because I'm like, God, they're probably going to judge me after they watch, you know, something like crazy
Oh.
like this. Because even people have said that to me like years ago. You know, they're just like, how can you watch it? I don't get it. And I'm like, it makes sense to me. You
Yeah.
know, it's just there, but it's he doesn't hold your hand, and that's what I really appreciate about it. And you know, just everything he's done for cinema. I don't think he's going to release another film ever again.
He's
I think
done,
he's
pretty
done.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like
Yeah.
80 something now, isn't he? He's like pretty old.
He's approaching 80.
Yeah, he's getting
Yeah.
up there. I think it'd be. I get what you're saying, but I think it'd be weirder if like, I don't know, David Lynch not so much would have the same effect as like, oh hey, watch this Darren Aronofsky film, and then like this will tell you kind of more of who I am as a person. You know what I mean? It's not like watch Requiem for a Dream and then come talk to me, because then like, yeah, that might be a film that I would be like, no, I don't think so. You know, because
fun family movie, that one.
right, exactly, or like Pi. You know, go watch Pi, and then we'll have a conversation about movies. You know, but I don't know. I think we're close to the same age, so like you look back at like the 90s and like the early 2000s, like big movie buffs, like those were movies that you did want to talk about. It was like, dude, I'm on a whole nother level. Like I watch like artsy weird films, you know, like don't talk to me unless you've seen Requiem for a Dream. You know, and now it's like, God, that movie's kind of, it's not a fun family friendly time. That movie's really fucking sad.
Yeah. My mood's a little high. I think I need to taper it down a bit. I'm gonna throw some Requiem on. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm too happy. Let's put this on.
Right, right. And I think, you know, a big part of it all, you know, and this is something even for me personally when it comes to films, because I've, you know, been a bit of a movie snub probably since I was little. It's probably why I hold David Lynch in such high regard as I do. You know, I'm one of those people, I suppose. But just the fact that everything is now digital, no one, you know, films out. No one appreciates the ritual of cinema like it used to be.
Right.
And you know, old Hollywood just doesn't. Hollywood, it just doesn't even exist anymore as far as I'm concerned. There's been no original movies for a really long time. It's all reboots and sequels or superheroes, which, I mean, some people like that. But I mean, can you remember like being back in the 90s and there would just be movies coming out all the time about all these different, so much happening, you know? It just
I do, and I appreciate it and I love it so much. I'm right there with you, and I understand like the love for movies and going to the movie theater and stuff, but also, god damn it, if when I was a kid, if somebody told me that I could just spend $20 and watch a movie that literally just came out at home and rent it from home and stream it at home, I would shit my pants. I would be such a happy, like, because it's just nice to have the options. And I know that kind of limits movie theaters, and I'm sure a lot of movie theaters are hurting and are going to have to shut down and stuff. But man,
I think a big thing like for me that I saw recently was Amazon buying MGM. And that really broke my heart in a way, which is like, this is what it is now. You know, like that's an end of an era. Like,
can we talk?
change it, you know?
I was I agree with that too, because Amazon shouldn't own everything, but also can we talk about the other side of it too? Because I saw an interview with Jim Carrey recently, and he said
Mm-hmm.
the death of Hollywood was Will Smith getting up and slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. He was like, he just made a complete shit show out of it, and for forever from that moment just took away like the grandioseness of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel like that's a part of it. I kind of feel like people, YouTubers being more famous than celebrities, being more famous than Hollywood actors now. I feel like that's a big part of it. Anybody can be a celebrity. Like, it's not this exclusive clique anymore. And then
Right.
on like the happier side of it, well, I mean, I'm gonna say happier, but like all these really bad people in Hollywood are starting to get called out for like terrible behavior and for like abusing and hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
And like it seems like every week another Hollywood star is up on the cross, you know, for some really bad shit that they did. And like I feel like that's a good thing, you know. These people should be held accountable for their actions. But I
Oh,
think that
100%.
that attributes to the death of Hollywood as well. And now, like you said, with digital stuff and movie theaters kind of going out of business and not being as prevalent anymore, prevalent, whatever that word is.
Right.
I do gotta say I'm a huge fan of the Marvel movies, though. I love superhero movies.
Right. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but like I remember being a kid and it was like you had Christopher Reeve as Superman,
Right.
the god awful Supergirl movie, which I love.
I have it on
Uh,
DVD. I got it on
Yay!
DVD. Yes,
Same. It's so bad.
it is very bad.
Um, but you know, they just weren't a thing, and I think there was like sort of a real treat to that. And I can't watch them anymore because they're churning them out too often that it's
I agree to an extent.
I never thought I would say that.
No,
You know?
you're right. You're right. I think it's starting to get lost in the plot a little bit, and I think it's something that like especially like Marvel has they kind of knew it was going to happen at some point, that they did a really good job at first of like, okay, well, this movie's going to come out this year and everybody has to see this movie before they see the next movie next year or like 2 years from now or whatever. And now it's like, we got 3 movies coming out this year, and if you don't watch all 3 of these movies, you're not going to know what's going to happen in this movie next year and you're going to be lost.
Right.
And like they can't count on audiences to be able to pay for and watch all of that, you know, to be able to keep continuity and keep stuff going. And so I think now they're starting to backpedal a little bit and like, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit and like let's try to figure things out. But on the Hollywood side, superhero movies are never meant to be an Oscar winning you shouldn't, people going in and expecting a superhero movie to be like an Oscar winning thing or like this grand, like this is going to be one of the best movies of all time. Like, no, dude, they're enjoyable films. They're supposed to be fluffy and fun, and you're supposed to just be able to go in there and kind of let your brain melt and just enjoy the lights and the colors and CGI and stuff like that. Like, that's not going to hurt artsy movies. Like, Martin Scorsese bashes the Marvel movies, and it's like, dude, if the Marvel movies weren't a thing, if these superhero movies were not coming out, it would not make your movie perform any better than it already is. If people want to see your movie, they want to see your movie. You know what I mean? And it's like, sorry that doesn't fall in line with the millions of comic book fans that want to go out and watch a Spider-Man movie because Spider-Man's fucking awesome. I'm sorry.
I mean,
you know?
Spider-Man is actually one of those examples I tend to go for when it's like, who asked for another Spider-Man movie? We just had one,
Right.
you know, but
Right.
but it's business. And I don't like that. I don't like that it's one of those things where it's like, well, Sony have to keep releasing Spider-Man movies. Otherwise, they have to, you know, that's how they keep the licensing for it. And it's like,
that's how they keep the licensing for it. But I think
it's like
all of
nobody
them,
asked for this.
they all have their own. They all have their own charm, you know. And Amazing Spider-Man 2 was god awful. Between Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the third Tobey Maguire movie, they were both terrible. They're terrible. You know, they were just not.
I
good
defend
movies.
the Tobey Maguire films. Look, I like
first
Raimi
two.
Spider-Man.
I do too.
I didn't mind
love
the third one.
Really?
I didn't have
Really?
it. Yeah,
Oh,
I couldn't
God.
find a problem with it. Everyone was really upset when it came out. And I mean, I liked the first Iron Man film. I thought that was brilliantly done.
Yeah.
And then the
absolutely.
sequel, I was like, okay. And then that's when, like the whole Avengers thing, because it was almost like a treat back in the day when those films came out because you had to watch the credits. Thank you, X-Men,
Right.
for, you know, doing that. You stayed after the credits. And then it's just now it's
I
the
found
novelty's gone,
I found out
I think.
recently, and I didn't know this until recently, but movies back in like the 60s and 70s, they would not show the trailers at the beginning of the movies. They would show trailers for other movies at the end. And so like that was
Hmm.
kind of the thing, was you had to watch the movie, you had to sit through the credits all the way to the end to get that treat, so it wasn't like a
Okay.
like an Easter egg for the movie you were watching for another movie, but you had to watch to the end to get those trailers and to see like the previews for the other movies. And that's kind of why Marvel started doing that. I think that's really cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
um yeah, I agree, and Sony just, it's Sony, it's,
Hmm.
they're just doing it to keep the licensing or whatever. But now like we're getting real comic book movies from real comic book people. And I don't know, man, just to be alive at a time where it's like we got an Avengers movie, we had shitty Captain America. I'm saying shitty Captain America, but like not that he was shitty back in the day, but like the graphics and like the props and stuff from the old comic book movies and TV
Hmm.
shows and stuff. They just they weren't what we wanted, They were what we got,
Hmm.
but they weren't what we wanted. And now we get to see this like play out on the big screen, and like it's
Right.
kind of cool.
And part of me is happy for it. It's just I feel like it's old, and I feel like I'm sort of at a point in my lifetime where I really am that get off my lawn stage of sort of looking at things. It's kind of I'm at a really weird age at the moment. It just I'm
let me
sort of
flip
like, is this
let me
midlife crisis?
it might be. Let me flip it on you and bring it back to your yard. I know that you have a Transformer tattoo. How do you feel about the
Mhm.
new Transformers movies?
I don't mind the
Uh-huh.
Bayverse, Bayformers, whatever they are. I know people got really upset when I spelt it, Michael Bay as BAE. I remember that upsetting people a lot on Twitter because I mean, like Transformers fans, they're kind of like Tool fans. Like nobody hates Transformers fans more than Transformers fans.
Right.
It's such a
Star
toxic
Wars too.
community. Yeah, yeah.
Every fandom's toxic. Star Wars fans are
Some are
toxic.
really awful. Like I stay away. I keep my Transformers stuff just on the DL. Like this is
Oh,
for
I'm
me
sorry.
and no
Did
one
I split?
else.
Should I not have said
No, no,
that?
no.
I'm so
You're
sorry.
fine. You're fine. But I'm always terrified someone's going to look at my tattoo and be like, "That's wrong. That's not G1. That's like just say like that's something like that." Because this has just been a fun collaborative piece that's just been put together over years and it works.
Right.
But the Bayformers Transformers are the best toys. They are my favorite. The Dark of the
Really?
Moon ones were my favorite by far to collect. They had the best engineering to them, I think. But as far as like the upcoming film, now I didn't really care when Mark Wahlberg came along.
You
I
don't like
thought
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch? Come on now.
no, because
Uh,
what was the fourth one called? The first one he joined in. I
uh,
didn't like that one, which is a shame because I ended up seeing the fifth one, but several years later, and I actually liked that one.
I
I
can't
thought it was a
remember.
nice twist on things.
I can't remember the
Yeah.
name. I know it was Transformers. Then it was Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon. I cannot remember what the Mark Wahlberg one
Was
was
it
called.
what do I think? It's like Last Stand or something.
Something like
I
that.
don't know.
He was in two of them. He was in two of them. I know that, and they felt like
Yeah.
they felt like the exact same movie too. They felt like the same movie. I could not.
The fifth one was good. I liked that. I liked how it had Merlin stuff kind of woven into the lore of things. I thought
Right.
that was really interesting. But I mean, like the designs of the new ones, I don't mind them, and I really like the new RC. I think she looks great. She looks way better than she did in the earlier films, so I
Yeah.
can't complain.
Yeah, RC
That
has
makes
a very
sense.
distinct. She has a very distinct look, and they need to.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
that
like
was
it.
always my problem with the that was my only problem with the Bayverse was that okay, it's Bumblebee, so he's got to be the brand new. He's got to be the brand new car that comes out this year because it's going to sell more of these cars, you know. And I get it,
Right.
I understand the marketing behind it, but it's like even I would apply the same thing to superhero movies. Like when I want to see a superhero movie, like I want to see something that's reminiscent and close to the costumes that they wear in the comics. You know, I feel the
I
same
agree
way
with
with the
that.
yeah with the Transformers too. Like I want to see what they look like in the comics because that's what I fell in love with. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just changing the design so you can try to sell me more shit and like that I don't appreciate.
Right, right. No, I get what you're saying with it. And I think like I had the, DVD of the very first Transformers movie that Michael Bay did, and watching like the making of where they kind of explain a lot of the choices they made, like when it came to casting and, changing a lot of the looks and using the vehicles that they did. I was like, that actually makes sense.
Hmm.
I can't be too mad about the reasons why. It would look ridiculous. It would look really ridiculous in some aspect of what it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, am I really going to get upset about how a robot looks in a movie that I'll probably see when it's streaming?
Right.
No, I got
Right.
bigger things to worry about.
All right. I said I'm writing a letter to Todd Howard right now.
just, just
I'm gonna
my
tell him,
boy Todd, if you're watching.
yeah, Todd, I'm mad about Transformers, and somehow it's your fault, and I just want to let you know. Oh God, so good. But yeah, so there is a new Transformers movie coming out, and they're doing Beast Wars,
Hmm.
and I think I don't know, it might pull me back into the franchise because I don't think I saw the last one, the Bumblebee movie that came out.
I haven't
Mixed
seen it.
mixed reviews. I met John Bailey, and he's the Epic voice guy.
Hmm.
He does all the honest
Yeah.
trailers and stuff. He is
Hmm.
a voice actor, and he was in that movie. And so, like right before the movie came out, we met him, and he was talking about it. He was like, "Oh, yeah, I love huge Transformers fan. I love it." You know, and talked about how big of a fan he was about it, and kind of like talked to us a little bit about how a lot of people were not for it and thought that they were ruining the franchise and all this stuff and how like he absolutely loved it and it made me want to see it but I never have. We didn't watch it
I haven't seen
and
it either.
I
I hear
just
friends of mine who are probably bigger snubs than I am. They told me to go and see it, so I'm like,
really
yeah, might check it out. Yeah, yeah. No, I've had, you know, there are some that I will listen to, and when they, I guess when they say to me like, give me the all clear, I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But I mean,
I like to see stuff for myself and get my own take on
yeah.
it. Especially when if you come into my lawn and you start talking about Marvel movies and stuff. God, the She-Hulk show got so much hate and like everything that people were hating on it for. I was like, have you ever read a fucking She-Hulk comic? Like it was
Probably not.
pretty much the comic. Like she breaks the fourth wall. She likes to date around. Like that's kind of She-Hulk's whole thing, you know? Like read the comics, watch the show and then try to have that same argument. And it's like you can't argue with that. People just want to argue and bitch about stuff and
Mm-hmm.
be contrarians, you know. They just want to have an opposing argument to pretty much anything, you know.
Right. And I get really, if there's a phrase that I keep seeing thrown around a lot of the time, it's when people say, you've ruined my childhood. And I have always hated that saying
I have.
because your childhood hasn't changed. It's still there. It's doing something new with it isn't going to ruin your childhood. And, this is coming from someone who firmly believes in the original trilogy of Star Wars and nothing else. Um, where it's like
Right on.
there's so much Star Wars out there now.
Oh
I like my
god.
original trilogy and that's it. And I don't like the Lucas edits that happen thereafter.
Do
Um,
you know why they
like
happened? Do you know about that? Do you know why the Lucas edits happened?
um the There were several of them because I remember when they did the re-release on the VHSs with the
Yep,
bonus footage
the
in the
gold.
90s.
Yep, the gold edition. Yeah, they
Mhm.
did that. Okay, so George Lucas's wife had a lot to do with Star Wars and creating the movies and stuff. When they got divorced, she still had the rights to a lot of the stuff, and so
Mm.
he was forced. Well, not forced, but
Okay.
he went and made those changes so she wouldn't get royalties from it. He went and
Okay.
made those
That makes
changes.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. I found
Okay.
that out recently, and I know that's not like uncommon knowledge, but I never knew that, and I just thought that was
Mhm.
really interesting. So like, yeah, so like Greedo shooting first and all that shit. That a lot of the changes got made just so he could like not have to pay his ex-wife like extra money, and it's like, damn, dude, that's a lot of work. And you pissed off a lot of people just so your wife would get
Right.
paid. Like, goddamn.
Right.
And then
Like
I watched
what
a
cost more out of that?
right, exactly, exactly. I mean, I feel like his legacy is still intact. I I wouldn't be as cruel and as much of a dick, but I understand why he did it, and
It makes sense.
it does make sense. And I watched an interview recently with Mark Hamill, and it was kind of funny. He said that all the new director for the newest movies, all they did was make people appreciate the prequels more, and I was like, damn, that is such a deep cut. And like, it's true,
Ooh.
it's so true. Everybody really is. You see the prequels everywhere now. You don't see anything about regular Star Wars like the original trilogy anymore. It's all Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and all this stuff about Hayden
Mhm.
Christensen and how good of a job Hayden Christensen did as Anakin and all this stuff. And it's like, do you guys not remember when those movies came out and how much of assholes everybody was about it? Like, Star
They're not
Wars
very
fans are
good.
the worst. Star Wars fans are the
Right.
absolute worst.
They are another toxic fandom. So I mean that's why I live in my own little bubble. I enjoy what I do. It's like I just something so fragile about saying you ruined my childhood. It's like it's
Yeah,
still there.
it is still there.
It's nothing changed. It's silly.
I do got to
It's
say
really
one
silly.
thing about the ruining childhood thing. Not ruining. It's not ruining my childhood. It's not ruining my childhood. But Disney is releasing a new Tron game, and the Tron and Optimatron is from the original movie Tron. And this new game that they're putting out is a visual novel about
Mm.
a guy that
Okay.
goes into a computer to play games with the computer, but it's a visual novel. And
Okay.
it fills me with so much rage. So much rage because I feel like they're not ruining my childhood, but I feel like they're gonna ruin the IP from it. I feel like not a
Right.
lot of people are gonna play it. The game is gonna flop because they pick the worst concept ever for a game. Nothing against visual novels, but it's a visual novel about somebody that goes into a computer to play video games. And so it just really upsets me because I feel like they're going to ruin it, and now we're not going to get anything else Tron for another 10 or 20 years. Like, they're just doing the IP thing. They're putting out
Probably.
something that's cheap for them so they can retain the rights to it and stuff it back into a vault. And like, it just kind of kills my hope for like a true awesome open world like AAA Tron game in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like sometimes when it comes to, I guess, artistic decisions like that, where people have something else in mind for what would work better, it's a shame when something like that does happen where there is that potential for it to be something that the fans want, especially if it's something that fans have been specifically asking for a really long time
Right,
and it just
right.
doesn't happen. I mean on the flip side with Transformers, I'm a huge collector of Gem and the Hologram stuff, which was that was the Saturday morning cartoon girls equivalent. They'd watch Transformers for boys, Gem for girls, whatever.
Right.
Um, and the whole purpose of those shows even existing was to sell toys. There
Yeah.
wasn't anything else. It was to sell toys. And what they did, it was the same director as G.I. Joe, essentially. And, that's where I want to throw a fit because I look at that as being you've taken someone else's idea and run with it and really messed it up
Right.
in that respect. And I think if you're going to try and appeal to a new generation of fans and things like that, there's so many better ways to do it, but don't shit on the original, because you've got like all the fans of the original who are there as the old guard. They love it for that reason. You're not going to pull any new fans if it's not
Right.
good.
Right. Right. They can make,
So-
I mean, even the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, you know, the internet rioted about it and was like, why? Like, who thought this was a good idea? And I just think they need to stop letting people, like, make these ideas to completely change, like, everything about whatever IP it is they're using. You know, it make subtle changes, you know, modernize it, make it look cleaner, make it fit, you know, whatever, that's totally fine. But like when you completely remake something that people have grown up with and loved for years and years and years, and you know what, we're just gonna reinvent the wheel, and it's like, why, dude? The wheel rolls already. We have the wheel, it rolls. We
Right.
love the wheel. We're gonna keep buying the wheel, but if you sell us like a square that doesn't roll, like,
Right.
we don't want that shit.
Right. This is a cylinder. Like,
Yeah.
it's still going to move, but it's going to be bumpy.
Yeah.
You know, that's just where I'm coming from with it. And like I said, like every day I just sort of have this thought, like, am I just getting old and I just don't have time for things like that? Or is, you know,
I feel that. I feel that.
I don't know. It's weird getting old having all these fandoms, because
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, it's like I said, even how I feel about superhero movies now. Me as 4 years old would probably cry knowing
Yeah.
that this is how I felt in the future. So
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, people change. Also, it's like you said, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. It's okay to agree to disagree. Like you're not shitting all over superhero movies, like, in general, you know, and like you have
no.
you have specific gripes about it, but you're also not like, oh, it ruined my childhood, blah.
Right. No, I can't let it get that far, because like I feel like when people want to, like, and look, however people want to feel is how they feel. I can't deny what someone thinks. I just think that's a really, I think reevaluate your mindset when it comes to something like that. When you look at, sort of what it is. Is it gone? No, it's all still there. It's just it's kind of hard to articulate in a few ways. Like, I can understand people being upset and being protective, but sometimes I think it's a little far
Yeah.
to get that worked up over something. But I mean, then again, I
Well,
look at the world we live in, and
at the risk of
anything goes.
opening up another can of worms, my biggest gripe with the new Star Wars movies, I have two of them, the newest ones. One is they introduced a new set of characters, very diverse, different characters, and they went absolutely nowhere with them. We didn't get to explore any of their backstories. We didn't learn anything about these characters. It was just like, boom, here's these characters. They're here. You're going to see them a couple times throughout the movies, and they're going to do stuff, but there's no character development. You're not going to learn anything about these people, and it's like you shot yourself in the foot. You gave us like these awesome new characters and didn't do anything with them. And like, I want to see more with these characters. And then the second thing was they literally just brought back the old cast to kill them. That was it. That was their only purpose. It was literally their only purpose for bringing back the old cast, was some sort of shitty passing of the torch where they just kill off the old characters. It's like, oh god, I can't believe they're in this movie. I love them so much. I love them in the old movies. Boom, they're dead. That was fucked up. Why did you do that to me? Like, why? You know, like, at least let them survive the first one, maybe, you know, like, let them get through the first movie, you know, bring them back in the second one, and then have like the tragedy set. But no, it was like every movie. It was just like, we're just to punch you in the heart and be like, Star Wars is ours. We'll do whatever we want with it. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, I guess that's what the Star Wars fans get for being a toxic fan base.
Probably they don't want to deal with it anymore. It's like, bye.
Maybe.
It's not there.
About, like,
I mean,
it makes sense. It makes sense if you think about it like that.
I think in some respects, like, I wonder what they think when it comes to stuff like that of, I mean, like Star Wars in particular had so many good comic books, and a lot of the lore of it, kind of like with Transformers,
Right.
having a lot of the story stem from the comic books. It's like there's material you can work with. There are stories you can tell from the comic books. It
And
already exists
they
and it's
threw
canon.
all of it away. I know. They threw all of the extended universe away. That was the first thing Disney said when they bought Star Wars from Lucas was the extended universe is no more. We're going to do our own thing. And at that point,
It's a shame.
I already knew. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I felt it in my heart. I was like, I know what's about to happen with this, and thank God.
Oh yeah.
Bringing Iron Man back up, good old Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau's in there. He's saving the Star Wars universe for everybody. He's gonna tie it all together and bring hopefully the extended lore and the extended universe to life, with this diverse cast of characters who have a lot to share with the world and that they weren't doing in the movies. So hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the Mandalorian?
I never watched it.
Oh my God!
I
Blonde,
know.
please watch the Mandalorian. Don't worry about all the lore and like the toys and stuff that they're selling. Please just watch. It's so, if you like westerns and you like Boba Fett, which I pretty much everybody should like those. You will love it. It's so good. It's so good.
I think it's one of those things that I get really sort of like overwhelmed by stuff because, everyone was on about Baby Yoda and they're still crazy about Baby Yoda. And it's almost like it's overload for me.
He's my least favorite part of the show. He's my least favorite part of the show. He's awesome.
I think I saw the first episode. Actually, I think I saw the first one.
It's so good.
But I didn't go beyond that. I should give it a chance instead of binging Judy Justice, which I'm doing these days.
Or watching Twin Peaks again.
Well, I want to try and just, I think I'll probably go with Twin Peaks maybe next year because it hasn't been that long since my last rewatch. Actually, going back to the Twin Peaks thing very quickly, the one thing I will recommend is the books that came out at the time of the return coming out. Very good books to read, and they tie a lot of things together.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Does it shed some light on certain things and like kind of tie stuff? I'm sure in written text it offers a lot more insight. I did not know there were books. I will need to read these. Yes,
they're very good books. They've got this thing about like history in them that sort of ties it all together. In the beginning, which was really, really well done, but it explains a number of things that's there. So the two books that are out for it, I highly recommend giving that a read because it does go into detail with some things that are a bit
very cool.
Not sure of. So that's definitely worth it.
Very cool. I will definitely have to check that out. Well, Blonde, we are at the hour mark. We have survived the episode, and what a wild ride it has been. I have enjoyed.
It went fast.
I know it does. When we start getting into the nerdy stuff, I told you it goes by super quick. This has been an absolute pleasure talking to you about all things nerdy. It has been far too long since we've had a conversation like this. I do have one more thing that I have to ask you before we end the episode. I like to ask all of my guests at the end, and I'm going to put you on the podium, and I'm going to put you in front of 1 million people, and it's your shining moment, your one opportunity to say whatever you want to 1 million people. What is your message? What would you say to them?
Does everyone come up with an answer for this?
Yes, they do. But now, one thing I didn't tell you is it don't feel like it has to have any specific theme or anything. Some people have talked about mental health awareness. Some people have just said be kind to each other. A couple people have self-promoted and shouted out, whatever it is they're working on, or 1 million people come watch my stream. That there is no wrong answer here. One person, my favorite answer so far, Niku Senpai, he literally just said, mommy milkers. That was it. That was all he said.
That
To
sounds on brand. That sounds
yeah, it's so good.
I would expect that.
And
Think. And I just had it and it's disappeared out of my head. Challenge everything. That would be my advice.
ooh, I like that.
Challenge everything.
I like that.
Because I don't think there's enough critical thought out there these days. I think we're all very quick to jump on a bandwagon, and with the technology age that we're in, and that information is traveling through so fast to so many people, I feel like no one stops to really think anymore about what's happening and what's going on. And I think that's to the detriment of a lot of mental health and things like that. Understanding, getting to the bottom of trying to understand what's going on, I think would change so many things, in the world. I really do. So I would just say challenge everything.
That is a wonderful answer, and thank you so much for that. Thank you. That is a great message to let everybody know. Think for yourself. Use critical thinking. Don't be so quick to judge or jump on bandwagons and be a part of the larger number of thought. Make your own decisions for yourself and do your own research. The internet's a big place. There's a lot of information out there. Do your own research. So with that, we will conclude this episode. I want to thank you again, Blonde. It has been an absolute honor having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh,
and
thank you for having me on for a new season.
Yes,
it's quite an honor.
it's gonna be a great season. And so with that, thank you all for watching out there on the YouTubes. Remember to smash that subscribe button. I'm saying that ironically. That's not serious. You can click it gently. Just click the subscribe button gently. Make sure you like and comment your favorite part of the episode. And we will see you next week on Wonder Bathos.